They call it the American Alps, a place where glaciers are still carving the peaks and lakes shimmer turquoise. This is North Cascades National Park, and in the fall it turns into a magical wonderland. I came here chasing fall colors, and what I found might be the most beautiful place in Washington. Let me show you in this video. We started the day by flying to Seattle, grabbing a rental car, and making the 3-hour drive over to the entrance. There's a lot of people taking a picture, so I'm not getting out, but this is North Cascades National Park, number 52. The fall colors began immediately, and my goal for the day was to make it all the way over to the trailhead for Maple Pass, which is another hour from the entrance. I did stop for a quick peek at Diablo Lake Overlook, but more on that later, as I was rushing to try to get to the trailhead since it's the most popular trail in the entire national park during this time of the year. As I was arriving, I saw all the cars lining the road for about a mile back, but luckily for me, I was starting about 2 p.m., which is pretty late in the day, and I was actually able to find parking in the parking lot. Parking for this hike is in the Rainy Pass picnic area, and after grabbing a spot, we set out on the trail. You guys, I am so excited for this one. I got up at 3:45 this morning, got on an airplane, drove 3.5 hours, and I am finally here at 2 p.m. I'm so excited to see this one, see the fall colors. I hope it's everything that I heard it is. Getting our first little taste of fall right there. So the main reason I rushed to do it today, I was planning on doing it tomorrow, but there's a possibility of snow and rain tomorrow, and I did not want to miss this. So it looks like I got a really good day. This trail actually sits on the border between the National Forest and the National Park. It was developed in the mid-1900s to promote recreation in the North Cascades region, and I, for one, am very glad that they developed it, as it's amazing. We're about a half mile in, the views towards the mountains are starting to open up. Wow, there's the fall colors. We came around a bend and the sun is lighting them up, and look at these views. Oh my gosh. There you go, this is already worth all the travels to get here. Coming from California, I don't see a lot of fall colors, so this blew me away right away. Also note that this trail is moderate to challenging at around 7 miles in length and 2,100 feet of elevation gain. I was just sitting here talking about how awesome this is. Somebody walked past and said, "You're not even close to anything amazing yet." I'm already blown away. We're only a mile in of 6 miles, so be prepared for just an overload on this hike. I think there's gonna be a lot of clips to share with you. Nice thing about starting the trail in the afternoon is that I heard it's a zoo in the morning. Really hard to find parking past like 7 a.m. I had no problem getting parking at 2, and there's not a lot of people on the trail with me. So this is the way to do it. I will say the benefit of the morning is probably the soft light coming from this way instead of that way. Wow, look at that. You guys know how much hiking I've done over the years, but all of this emotion that you're seeing in this video is real. This was one of the best hikes I've ever done, probably top 5. And I just continue to be amazed as I head up. This is one of those trails where every time I get a new view, I'm just saying, wow. I've probably said wow 20 times already. We're not even up there at the summit where they said you could see maybe some glaciers and just other views. This is incredible. Add this to your bucket list. That really shows the fall colors that we've been walking through. The main fall color trees you want to see here are the larches. But alongside those, you'll see maples, huckleberries, and mountain ash, adding reds and oranges to the hues. As we get higher in elevation, you can see the red starting to come out, and you can see the trail right there. It's going to lead us up to the peak. You're not tired of this yet, but I mean, look at that view. Look at the reds. It's just uncomprehendable. Around the 2.5 mile mark is where you'll start seeing most of the larches. And from here you get a viewpoint that looks out over Heather Pass and the meadows with massive peaks behind it. As I came around that bend, I got to see a couple propose in front of that incredible fall view, and I got to take some pictures for them. Such a highlight. That's an amazing place to propose. The trail gains a lot of elevation here as you go up some steep, rocky sections with big drop-offs on the left-hand side. Check it out, it's little fall Christmas trees right here. These are the larches that are rare conifers that drop needles every fall, and they glow almost like fire across the region. They're definitely the trees that steal the spotlight on this hike, and I had never seen anything like this before in my life. Have you guys seen these before? Also, this visit was on October 10th.
Couldn't find a better spot for a rest.
If you do this hike, I highly recommend that you do it in a counterclockwise direction. This way you get the views a lot faster and they continue to get better and better as you're going up. Also, you'll see that at the end of the hike it's very steep, so you either have to do this going down or going up, and I prefer doing it going down. However, if you have bad knees, you may prefer to do the steep section going up.
This is honestly one of the best hikes I've ever done. I have goosebumps continuously on this hike. We have almost made it to the top of Maple Pass. I have a feeling when we get on the other side of those rocks, the views are gonna be stunning. We have made it up Maple Pass, and as predicted, the views on the other side are incredible. Not that we needed another reason for this hike to be one of my favorite of all time, but I mean, look at that. Oh, and look at that too. You can literally see glaciers out there.
According to the map, this is officially Maple Pass and it sits at 6,613 feet of elevation. It's honestly incredible up here with 360-degree views.
We're almost finished the uphill portion of the hike. You can see people right up there. That is the end of the uphill. This hike actually has 2,000 feet of elevation gain, but it's been so amazing that I've just been powering through. I haven't even noticed how steep it is.
From here, the path walks the ridgeline as it climbs another 300 feet to get the official high point on the trail. Google Maps lists this high point as Maple Pass, but the official map lists the other point as Maple Pass, so let me know which one you think is Maple Pass in the comments. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me, they're both incredible, so just do the whole loop.
I'm not gonna lie, this last push is challenging. You can see where we've come just from the pass, and then another trail down there. I think we're almost there though. We have made it to the top. There is the way down right there. Epic to see this kind of other side of the mountain over here. I'm just happy to be at the top. Wow, that's a pretty incredible view right there too.
This is an incredible view and one I would have easily hiked for on its own, but it paled in comparison to what we had already seen on the trail.
All right, the sun's going down and it is freezing up here, so I'm gonna start hiking back down.
From here, the trail descends gradually on a series of switchbacks, with some views back down into the bowl that we climbed up, but most of the views heading the other direction. I just continued to be surprised by the colors each time I made my way around a different bend and saw into the distance with the gold and yellows and even reds.
I half expected this side to just be the boring side, but then you come over here. I mean, it's not the same as the other side, but that is pretty darn special too.
This is Rainy Lake, and it was a beautiful view from where I could see it.
What's wild is how high up we still are. That area right down there with that trail, that's where I was blown away at the very beginning of the hike. And I still had all that to do. The person that told me to keep going was definitely right. I definitely recommend doing this section on the way down. It's way steeper, not as good views, so do the other side first.
Rounding this bend, there was more fall colors, and I could also see the road stretching out in the distance, which was pretty cool to see, and actually let me know that I still had a ways to go before I got back to a car.
All right, we made it back to the car. I am exhausted, but that was just one of the best hikes I think I've ever done in a national park. I do want to note that on the way back down, be really careful. It is very, very steep and uneven. I saw two people who actually had slipped and cut themselves on the way down. Nothing to be like stressed out about or anything, but just take it easy on the way down and bring a hiking pole if you need one of those to have a little extra stability. All right, now we're gonna drive an hour to the other side of the park and we're gonna check into our hotel.
It was pretty late in the day by the time we finished the hike, so as we were driving back, I stopped at Diablo Lake Overlook one more time and then just continued on towards the west side of the park. When I got back to the town of Newhalem, I decided to stop and check out Ladder Creek Falls, which is known for how it lights up at night. This is a crazy area though, there was no one else here and it was pretty dark as I was walking over.
I feel like this trail is just made up to rob people or something. It feels so weird to walk all the way back here for a lit up waterfall, but we'll see.
This trail is less than a quarter of a mile each way and it only takes about 10 minutes.
Well, it's looking promising. Seems like there might be some lit up stuff up there.
When I got to what I assumed was the falls, there was a bridge and there was lots of lights lighting the different small cascades for the waterfall. You'll note when I come back here tomorrow that I actually didn't make it all the way to Ladder Falls, but there was no signs or anything and I had no idea where I was going.
All right, well, there you go. Somewhat lit up waterfall and I didn't get robbed, so I guess that was a good stop. We're gonna go see if we can get food at the one place that is still open in this entire area. Wish me luck. Here's our hotel for the night, the North Cascade Inn. I'm not gonna lie, this is a pretty sweet room. Check out the cowboy theme that kind of continues through the entire room. There's even guns above the bed. Said that they also leave you snacks and some breakfast in your fridge. Look at that. Got some juice, some fruit. Not bad.
This is about 15 minutes from Newhalem and it was basically the closest place I could stay without camping.
Luckily, the only place that says it's open right now is that place right across the street, so let's go check it out.
Across the street was a restaurant called Mondo, which was basically an Asian and American restaurant with teriyaki chicken and hamburgers. I ended up going with teriyaki chicken and I have to say it was very good. That was good chicken teriyaki. I have no complaints about that. Made it back to the hotel after a long day of travel and hiking. We'll see you tomorrow for more North Cascades.
Starting day 2 in the park. Luckily there was a coffee shop right there next to my hotel. Let's go see what we can find.
There isn't really anything to eat in the park other than the market at Newhalem, but it is closed on Fridays, which is when I was there, and in general I would just recommend getting some food or some coffee before you head into the park. One of the benefits of staying close is that a lot of people drive in each day from Seattle to experience it, and so you can beat a lot of the crowds if you're just staying in the park already.
National Park number 52, North Cascades. This is by far one of the coolest signs as well.
Heading into the park in the early morning in October was surreal with the fall colors that greeted me and the moody mountains with the clouds surrounding them. I headed directly to the visitor center even though I knew it was probably not going to be open.
So unfortunately the visitor center is closed because of the government shutdown. Don't get me started on that. But shout out to whatever ranger put the passport stamp outside so I can get my passport stamp. You're an MVP.
From the visitor center, it's only about a 5-minute drive to Newhalem, which is where I was going to start my day with a couple short trails.
First up today, I'm heading out on a 1/4-mile trail called the Trail of the Cedars.
The Trail of the Cedars was originally built by Seattle City Light in the early 20th century. Back then, they were managing the hydroelectric projects and wanted a scenic nature trail for visitors and employees. The trees here are remnants of an ancient forest that once stretched across the valley before logging began in the late 1800s. It's less than a mile round trip and it's one of the most accessible trails in the park. On the walk, you'll go under massive cedars, some of the largest in the park and some over 500 years old.
Check out that hollowed tree, that's pretty cool. And this one right here is known as the Children's Cave.
Interpretive signs along the trail tell you about the trees you're looking at and explain the forest ecosystem that you're walking through.
If you're just looking for fall colors hikes, the national park had a little thing put up on the visitor center that showed the 4 hikes they recommend for that, and all of that is on the east side of the national park and we're on the west side right now. We've made it to the halfway point of the trail so you can actually connect with the campground over here, but we're just heading back that way.
On the way back, the trail walks along the Skagit River.
I think this is the biggest tree we've seen on the trail so far today. This is a great family-friendly hike. It's very easy. It walks along the water. There's lots of great views. There's even a little bit of fall colors, so definitely worth doing.
When you get back to the suspension bridge, there's some cool views on both sides of the water, looking at it and looking out across the river.
There's a market over there that's closed today, so we can't go in, and then there's an information center right here.
The Skagit Information Center was basically like a national park visitor center. They had people there who could answer questions, they had historical information that you could read about, they had different magnets and posters on sale, and they even had an area to get passport stamps. It was cool because they had stamps for the Pacific Crest Trail, North Cascades National Park, and a few of the other things ran by the National Park Service. The last thing I wanted to mention was the town of Newhalem itself. This is an interesting place as it was established in the early 1900s as a company town for Seattle City Light, which built and operated the hydroelectric project there. You can park across the road and you can walk around the company town and see a lot of different history, plus they even have a playground here for kids.
If you're coming into the park, there's nothing to eat in the entire park, and on the Fridays this market is actually closed as well, so you have to go out either end to get food, so bring what you need. This is the trail out to that waterfall that I did at night yesterday, but I figured I'd do it this morning so you could see what it looks like during the day. The Gorge Powerhouse in front of me has been producing power since 1924.
What's interesting about the Powerhouse is that J.D. Ross, who was the superintendent of Seattle City Light, actually envisioned the Powerhouse not just as an industrial site, but as a place where the public could learn and to appreciate electricity. I mean, you have to remember, when he was doing this, most people didn't actually have electricity in their home.
This is where we are. So here's the Gorge Powerhouse, here's the falls over here, and then I guess there's some garden fountains around as well.
I wish I would have known this history before I did the hike the previous day, but basically during the 20s and 30s, Seattle City Light offered tours that showcased the dam, gardens, and actually the light show that we saw last night. Visitors would come from all over as far as Seattle to see this modern marvel, and it was something that was truly impressive to most of them. It said that the project was so successful that it actually inspired similar public hydroelectric education efforts across the country. And when I walked out to the waterfall again, I realized I had made a mistake the previous night.
Alright, so the problem is I didn't go up high enough last night. That's where I went last night. And the waterfall is actually over here. No idea if it would have had lights on it or not, but it was pretty dark around here last night, so let me know in the comments if you come up here and it does have lights.
This waterfall has a few different drops and it's around 100 feet total.
That's a pretty awesome waterfall. I'm surprised I'm the only one on this trail. Look at the cool canyon that it carved its way through as well before it falls down into that little gorge over there. Oh, wow, there's another cascade up there as well. That one and then that one right there. Shout out to Ladder Creek Falls. Apparently it's a hidden gem in the park since there's a lot of people in here today and I'm the only one here. So yeah, it looks like there would have been lights up there at night. I'm kind of bummed that I didn't do more research before I came up here. Let me know how that goes.
After coming down from the waterfall, you can go back the same way you came across the suspension bridge, or you can actually walk through the historic gardens. I wish these were in better conditions, as you can't really see any of the fountains anymore. Most of them have deteriorated, or there's trees or moss growing up through them. You can see some lights up in the tree though that remind you of the history here. And then as you come down from the trail, you can actually go inside of the Gorge Powerhouse if that's something you're interested in and you're there during operating hours. Welcome to the Gorge Powerhouse. You are here. There's all the different lakes and dams that they have. The inside of the powerhouse has information on the 3 different dams that are along the river, and you can actually walk up to the windows and you can look through it and see kind of how a dam runs. I honestly found it to be pretty fascinating. Again, there was no one here with me, so I just walked around and I read about the dam and I read about the company town they created, and I found it to be a pretty good stop that I had no idea I was going to stop at. And then when I left the powerhouse, I walked the main bridge back to the parking area.
That was a unique piece of history and a pretty cool stop. I would have loved to have walked through there when it was back in its prime with the lights and the fountains and everything. I bet it would have blown people's minds in the 1920s.
And then saying goodbye to Newhalem, we headed back into the park to do a few more small trails before ending our time here. If you look at the map for the park, you'll see that the established part of it is basically just a drive-through area with different places you can pull out for overlooks or short hikes. And the next short hike was the Gorge Overlook Trail. I was told that this was actually built by Seattle City Light in the 1920s as well, as a way for the public to access the Skagit hydroelectric project. About 1/10 of a mile in, you get some decent views over the river, and then you can continue on from there and make it into a loop. If you make it into a loop though, unfortunately there's not really a lot to see after that point. That's called the Gorge High Dam, and it was completed in 1961.
This portion from the viewpoint is called the Gorge Creek Overlook Trail. As you can see, there's no views.
I figured I'd do the entire loop, which is around a mile, but there's nothing really to see. Definitely just turn around at the overlooks and go back unless you really want to complete the trail. It basically just comes down and then it walks along the road to get back to the parking area. When you get back to the parking lot though, be sure to cross the street and to go walk out on the bridge. From here you get a great vista point of the waterfall. From here you can see Gorge Creek Falls out in the distance. It's a little bit difficult to see, but it's definitely worth checking out while you're in this part of the park.
Also, that is a long drop and you can see completely through it. Not good if you're afraid of heights.
I also walked to the other side of the bridge, and from here you could get some good views down towards the gorge and the river. Again though, there's definitely better vista points in the park.
The views from the bridge are way better than the views from the Overlook.
Before heading up to the Diablo Lake viewpoint, I wanted to see the lake from below. And the road down to the dam was actually closed, so I kept going and I parked at the Thunder Knob trailhead. From here you could access the Thunder Arm area of Diablo Lake, so it's a little bit different, but also kind of the same. I have to say it's pretty stunning with the big mountains all around it, but you can't actually see the color of the lake that you can see from the viewpoint, so it is a little bit better from up there.
Props to that guy who just jumped in the water even though it is freezing today.
I honestly really enjoyed this area, and if I ever come with my family, this is definitely going to be where I have a picnic and just throw rocks in the water and enjoy the views.
So it's cool to see Diablo Lake from down here, but the main way to see it is from the Overlook we're going to next.
At the trailhead, you can also hike Thunder Knob, which is about 3.5 miles round trip, 600 feet of elevation. It goes up to a viewpoint for Diablo Lake, but most people online say that it's not really worth it until the very end when you get that viewpoint. The rest of the trail is just in the forest, so we're skipping it on this one, but let me know if it's worth doing next time I'm here in the comments.
What we're heading out to right now is the Diablo Lake Overlook, which is the most popular thing to do in the whole national park. I showed it to you last night, but you really have to see it when it's sunny. Check it out, how amazing is that? Look at the colors of the water, it's like Lake Louise. It's very windy though. That's Thunder Knob right there, that's what you hike up to on that last trail I was talking about. I'm sure it's amazing views, but I don't think it's better than this.
Sometimes referred to as the Jewel of Skagit, Diablo Lake was actually formed in the 1930s after the completion of Diablo Dam. And then the viewpoint was established after North Cascades Highway opened in the 1970s in order to give travelers a safe overlook above the reservoir. It gets that striking blue from the glacial runoff. To finish out my time in the national park, I kept driving along the highway to the Ross Lake Overlook. This is near the eastern end of the national park, but there's a lot more you can see that's not connected to the road both north and south. This is actually a beautiful overlook with some big mountains out in the distance and supposedly some fire lookouts out in the distance, one of which Jack Kerouac spent 6 weeks at back in the day. There's also a resort on Ross Lake that you have to book way in advance, so check that out if you're interested. But for me, the snow was moving in and I had to get going. Alright, and with that, our time in North Cascades is done. I'm heading back to Seattle to get on the Amtrak to go to Chicago, which you can see up here when it's posted. A few things about the park. I think for a lot of people, this park would probably be a little underwhelming. If you're just driving through and going to the overlooks, obviously Diablo is an amazing overlook to see the lake and the colors there, great. But overall, it's probably not too impressive of a park if that's all you're doing. That being said, if you take the time to get out on the trails, wow, this park just opens up and it's spectacular. That hike I did yesterday was one I will think about for a long time and one of the best hikes I've ever done in my entire life. So I can't wait to get back up here again and do more of the intense hiking. But note that most of the main hikes in this park are at least 4 to 6 miles. A lot of them have 1,500, 2,000 feet of elevation gain getting up on some of these mountains around it. So it's definitely a much more challenging park, but I think if you like hiking and you like getting out and exploring, you're really gonna like it. Let me know what you think in the comments, and we will see you on the next one.